What is your Tinder horror story? Not mine but my friend's. He hooked up with this girl he'd been talking to for a while. They met early in the afternoon on a Sunday for a walk in the park. Sunny spring day, things are going well. He'd been out drinking the day before and his stomach starts acting up and he realizes he needs to fart. This one will not only smell but will probably be loud as well. He spots a tin can a few yards down the pathway, and gets this brilliant idea that he's gonna kick it simultaneously with his fart, to cover up the sound. So he runs up to the can, to get a few yards between them, takes aim and kicks, and misses the can. The effort only increases the volume of the fart. On top of it all he realized he probably shit his pants a little bit as well. Without hesitation he just keeps on running and doesn't look back. So from her perspective, she's having a nice walk with this guy who suddenly starts running, kicks in the air, farts and keep running Forrest Gump style. And that's all she wrote. I matched with a girl and sent a lot of messages. Later that night we talked on the phone and the conversation was going really well, so I asked to go out the next night. She agreed, and then 5 minutes later she tells me that needs to tell me something. She tells me that she's permanently in a wheelchair. So I'm either in a hole if I back out now or in a hole if I lead her on. I figure why not, it's just a date and it could be a fun time still. We talk more that night and go to bed. The next morning she calls me early and tells me she's doing something crazy. She won't tell me what, but she said she'll show me later. A few hours goes by and she calls me back, and tells me she's going to send me a pic of what she did. I check my messages and I see a picture of her wrist, with my name now tattooed on it. We end the call and I immediately tell my friends about this crazy girl. Later that night I'm driving to her place cause I figure, she can be committed enough to tattoo my name on her, I should be committed enough to go on this date. Plus I have to know it's real. I'm almost at her place and I realize that my car may not accommodate her wheelchair and I know she drives, so I ask if she can drive us. I'm walking in the parking lot and she drives up and I get in the car. Now I had figured she had a handicapped enabled car. Nope. Turns out she just uses 2 crutches to drive, one on the gas and one on the brake. I don't like this as we're driving on the Southern California freeways in traffic. We go eat and she gets a phone call from her daughter. Turns out she left her 10-year-old daughter at home alone and she's scared. I'm like, hey, we can go. But she's like, no, it's okay, I gave her something to make her sleep, she'll be asleep soon. So we finish up and I was gonna take her to see a movie, but the kid thing was too much, so we head home and my fingers are already crossed that we make it when she turns to me while driving and says, wow, I'm kinda drunk. In my head I'm like, 1 drink is all you had. But I ask if I can drive and she says no, she's gonna get in the fast lane and uses her crutch to hit the gas. I say my last prayers, but we made it back to her place. So I wheeled her back to her door, said goodbye and lived. Tattoo was real though. I've been waiting for the right thread for this. After a movie date with a guy I met on Tinder, we came back to my place. We'll call him Dude. I told him we could hang for a bit, but I have work in the morning so I would need to go to sleep soon. Dude said that was fine, but he was hungry and he was going to order food. Okay, sure. Dude orders 2 large subs from Potbelly and a milkshake. Downs it. No judgment, he's 6 feet 4 inches, 210 pounds, younger still growing, by all means. I didn't think anything of it until later. We end up messing around a bit and fall asleep in bed. I wake up to my front door opening and closing several times over a 5-minute period. My dogs are going nuts, and it's 1 a.m. What the heck is this guy doing? I open the door to my room that opens up to the rest of my apartment, and my bathroom is to the left where the light is on and the door is wide open. I walk around the corner to make eye contact with Dude, who is in a squatting position over my toilet, with a stick, poking around in murky brown poop water that is millimeters from overflowing onto my bathroom floor. Horrified, he yells, "Stop looking at me. Go back to bed." I have it under control. I'm still waking up trying to understand what I'm seeing and what's going on, and I just start nervous laughing. I don't know what else to do. He yells, "Why don't you have a plunger?" And I said I don't know, I never needed one until now. He tells me to go back to bed, he has it under control. I'm so disturbed, tired, can't process what's happening and have work in the morning. I go back to bed. I remember hearing him peek in my room a bit later and I fixed it. And then heard him leave and my door closed behind him. The next morning, I hesitantly approach my toilet to find the water is down. But there is something poking out from the bottom of the toilet like he didn't get it all. Upon further inspection, what I was seeing was the tip of a stick. Some gloves, towels and barbecue tongues. Later I pulled out approximately 3 foot of stick from my toilet that had broke off, followed by several other stick fragments. Dude had broke several sticks. I heard my door open and close so much, Because he was going outside to look for a stick, one would break, he'd go get another. Dude had left drippy poop water stains all over my bathroom floor. He also left my apartment so fast, that he left his underwear, and undershirt and socks. After work that day, I went straight to the store and bought a plunger. Lesson learned. When I was younger, I once had to use the bathroom outside my apartment's gym, which was right next to the management office where a really cute girl worked. I clogged the toilet and they didn't have a plunger. This was one of those ones that is so big it was still visible halfway in the bowl. It was really obvious that it was me who used the bathroom last, and I go there all the time. The last thing I want is for her to associate me with giant, toilet-killing bombs. In a panic, I calculated how much toilet paper I'd need so that it wouldn't immediately disintegrate, wrapped my hand in it, and fisted that fucking turd down the hole. Easily my most shameful moment of my adult life. The one friend group that I revealed that story to still has a couple of guys who call me shit puncher even years later. Buy plungers, people. Don't let it come to this. Met at a Starbucks. She told me she was vegan and that she was cool that I'm not. I order a coffee with cream in it and she screams at the top of her lungs, in the crowded Starbucks, that I'm a cow murderer. I just paid for my stuff and left. Another time I met a girl from Tinder and we saw each other a few times. She had an ex that she still talked to, but hasn't had any feelings for in a few years. So I go to her apartment and this place is like a shrine to him. Pictures of him on every wall. And it wasn't just from when they were together and she never took them down. She just moved to this place a month prior, so she recently decorated her apartment with his face. Really creeped me out and felt like I was going to be some sort of sacrifice to get him back. I went on a Tinder date several months ago around October and it went really well. Girl had a job, wasn't crazy, and was cute, so we decided to have a second date. The only thing was that the second date was at her Thanksgiving party so she could introduce me to her friends and family, which I thought was a bit too early for. Anyways, I didn't have anything planned that day, so I decided to go. My job was to make the jungle juice for the party, and it consisted of the usual Everclear, Hawaiian Punch, lemonade powder and ice combo I've used throughout college. It worked wonders and everyone got really drunk. Near the end of the party, my date and her friends told me I did an amazing job on the drink. My date also mentioned that she really liked the fruit I added into there and that everyone at the party was trying to get some. For some reason, that did not sit well with drunk me, so I headed over to the alcohol canister to investigate. I grabbed my trusty ladle and started scraping the bottom of the canisters, and on one of the ladles I found some chunks of meat and pieces of ramen. That's when I realized that someone puked in the jungle juice. Edit: the recipe is very simple. It is about 1/6 Everclear, 1/3 Hawaiian Punch, half Sprite, Loda ice, and at least 2 pink lemonade powders. Everclear and lemonade powder goes into the container first. Now you mix it all up, add ice, and then you slowly start adding Hawaiian Punch until the taste of alcohol is dampened. Sprite is to make it a little bubbly at the end, and you just make the sweetest, most alcoholic drink ever. Matched with this cute girl a few years back. Went out for drinks. It was going well, decided to head out to the beach with a 6-pack to stargaze and make out. Somehow we ended up on a stolen sailboat at 2 a.m. with her ex, an old drunken boat repairman who made copies of the keys to steal the boat, and her dog. After arguing with her ex for 30 minutes, she blacks out and falls asleep. Her dog is scared out of its mind and is shitting everywhere. Her ex starts tripping on acid and yells at me that I have to take care of her and never hurt her. Then runs to the bow of the boat to finish his trip. The old drunken boat thief is just chilling and chugging vodka like it was water. I said F it, cleaned up after the dog and brought the poor pup inside the cabin with me, then passed out. Next morning I woke up to the girl and her ex screaming at each other about some car crash and whose fault it was. The old boat thief was gone and I had no clue where I parked. I left without them noticing, got some coffee and breakfast, and wandered around the harbor until I found my car. Never talked with her again, but I didn't delete Tinder. I went to his place and we hooked up, but after he goes, "So you want to know what I'm really into?" And I was like, "Sure," and then he grabs my foot. I have a really irrational fear of people touching my feet, so I ran the hell out of there anyway. I get to the living room on the way out and it turns out to be his parents' house, and I look at his mother and see she was my old therapist. Oh, I have one where I was probably the nightmare. I went on a first date with a girl from Tinder at a Cajun restaurant in Dallas. The restaurant was the Rizzu's on 75. I had read recently about some stuff called kratom, that is supposed to make you feel really relaxed and euphoric, and I had tried to make a tea from the recommended dosage the previous day, but I didn't feel anything off of it. So I figured if this stuff was supposed to make you be cool and euphoric, then the best time to take it would be for a first date. And since I didn't feel anything from it the first time, I figured I should take more. So I wrapped a lot of it. Kratom is usually sold as a greenish, super bitter powder, up inside of balls of deli meat, and swallowed those whole before the date. I then went to the lunch feeling nothing, until I met the girl and sat down, at which point I suddenly came to the realization that I was a few seconds away from projectile vomiting up all that kratom and deli meat in the middle of the restaurant. I excused myself, got up from the table, walked a few steps towards the bathroom until I began to violently vomit. At which point I covered my mouth with my hands, began choking on my own vomit as I sprinted towards the bathroom, leaped a trail of vomit all over the floor in a path towards the bathroom, then continued to violently projectile vomit into the trash can in the bathroom. I then spent a while to clean my face and wash my arms and hands, which were soaked in vomit. I then returned to the table and tried to survive the rest of the lunch date without dying of embarrassment. I felt like a huge a-hole and was really embarrassed. Not mine, but a friend of my sister's had quite an experience. They met on Tinder and went for dinner. They hit it off really well and he invited her back to his place and she really liked the dude, so went with it. Things were getting hot when she started getting intense stomach pains, so went to the bathroom. She literally had explosive diarrhea and messed herself, all over her body, the full shebang. She was completely mortified and then had to explain to this dude what happened. The dude seemed really chilled and told her to get a shower and go get changed into some of his clothes and not to worry, he would clean it up, and took her dirty clothes away. After the shower she walked into his bedroom and he was wearing her shitty clothes and covering himself in the crap. She ran out the house in just a towel and called the police. Like shit, pun intended. Turns out it was his fetish, and at one point on the dinner date when she went to the toilet he had spiked her drink with something to intentionally crap herself. Well, I've only gone on one Tinder date. We talked for a bit and I agreed to pick her up at Starbucks. She looked nothing like her pictures, but I thought I should be nice and at least hang out with her for a bit. We went to her place and the entire house reeked like cat pee. Like saturated. Then as she proceeded to show me her massive collection of animal tail butt plugs, she screamed at her chihuahua and smacked it right on the nose, and without missing a beat just asks if I want to make out on the couch. I awkwardly sat down and pretended to look at my phone and made up that my grandma was dying so I could GTFO. Met up with a Tinder girl at Dave & Buster's. She brought me there for a freaking pyramid scheme sign-up presentation. Guess I respect the hustle. Happened to me in college, but this was in the early 90s, so no Tinder obviously. Met this attractive girl on campus, we had coffee, then a lunch, nothing ever physical, but she seemed into me. One day she calls me, asks me to come by her office. I'm thinking weird, but okay. I go, she meets me and she brings me in this room, and there's about 10 other guys around my age all sitting around this conference table. We're all looking at each other with these WTF expressions on our face. Then the girl comes back in with her boss and the sales pitch started. First date, she wanted me to get into a bar fight with the perfectly friendly guy who'd bought us a round of shots that night. Why? Because she found out he was a Scorpio. We lived about 25 minutes from each other, so agreed to meet at the beach pier about halfway between. Before meeting, we had been texting and he seemed totally normal. I was already at the pier when he texted me saying he can't meet me there because his license is revoked and it's too far for him to walk. I should have just left then, but I agreed to meet him at a pizza place closer to him. I get there, and I'm standing outside when I see him, and quickly realize the pics from his profile were at least 3 to 5 years old. Homeboy looks like the dollar store version of himself. Greasy, looks like he hasn't showered in days, hair undone, holes in his shirt. I awkwardly give him a side hug and suggest we get a seat, and he says, "Oh, no, we're not getting pizza. Let's go to the park." I awkwardly say okay, and as he talks, I realize his gums and tongue ring are stained black from smoking. By this point, I am completely turned off and am just keeping up with formalities. So we get to the park and find a bench to talk, and before I can sit down, homie pulls me onto his lap, squeezing me and saying, "God, baby girl, you are so freaking cute." I awkwardly scooch away and try to get a conversation going. He pulls out his phone and starts texting for a few minutes, not really listening to me, before interrupting with, "Have you smoked? My friend is a plug, we could go back to my place for a bowl." I decline. "Aw, come on, baby girl, my place is just right there. We could have some fun, too." I decline again. Next thing you know, he pulls me close by the face and whispers, "You're so innocent," before broad tongue licking my face from chin to ear. Shell-shocked, I just sit there for a moment processing what the hell just happened as he keeps talking about weed before I decide to fake an urgent phone call and leave. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, show your support. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below.